from Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles. It's ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. Tonight, it's the Montreal Expos' Pedro Martinez taking on his former team, the Dodgers, and Rookie of the Year slugger Mike Piazza. It's the Sunday night game of the week. Everybody, and welcome to beautiful Dodger Stadium, Los Angeles. Tonight, Sunday Night Baseball, the Montreal Expos and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Pull up a chair. It's big. It's Sunday night's game of the week on ESPN. All right, it's not Vince Scully. I know. Man, what a disappointment. Hello, everyone. I'm John Miller, along with Joe Morgan, your Sunday night telecasters. And here we are at beautiful Dodger Stadium, Joe, and a former Dodger, Pedro Martinez, traded to the Expos, all of a sudden looking like one of the best pitchers in the National League.
Well, I thought his problem might have been at the beginning of the season would be him being able to go 9 innings or pitching to the 6th or 7th inning because he was a reliever last year. But he has not missed a beat, John. He looks like maybe the best starting pitcher in the National League right now.
All right, now the Expos also have some great young talent. Marquise Grissom, this guy can do it all.
Well, he's a complete player. And last year he won a Gold Glove. He made the All-Star team. He can hit. He hits with power. And he runs well. He steals a lot of bases. So he is a complete player. But they have 2 other good players in the outfield. Moises Alou is a good hitter. Larry Walker in right field also won a Gold Glove last year and an excellent base stealer. This could be the best outfield in all of baseball.
It used to be when you thought of the Expos, you thought of Delino DeShields, the fine second baseman. But he went to the Dodgers in the Martinez deal, and last night he got hurt in this play, crashing into his teammate Raul Mondesi. Both of them got hurt, but DeShields had to go to the hospital. He has a concussion and will be out of action tonight. Mondesi, they thought maybe wouldn't be able to play, but now he's going to be in there. But without DeShields in that lineup, that puts even more responsibility on the shoulders of Rookie of the Year, Mike Piazza.
Well, Piazza, it didn't surprise me that he got off to a slow start this year, John, simply because when you have a great year, you know, you have to start from zero again. Now he's starting to swing the bat well. This is last night. He drove the ball over the head of the center fielder, but he has been swinging the bat exceptionally well the last couple of weeks. He's getting back in the groove.
Almost hit one right out of Dodger Stadium during batting practice tonight. It's the Dodgers and the Expos. The Expos are going for the sweep here tonight. Pedro Estacio versus Pedro Martinez. We'll be back. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball is brought to you by the more than 800 AutoZone stores across America. AutoZone, the right parts at the right price. John Miller and Joe Morgan back at Dodger Stadium on a beautiful evening. And you're looking at Dodger Stadium in Chavez Ravine. Felipe Alou, he's got a reason to be happy and smiling. His ball club, after a slow start, has started to put together out here on the West Coast. They've won 5 in a row, and they're going for the sweep of the Dodgers here tonight. Here's his lineup. Mike Lansing, he's the heir apparent to Delino DeShields, taking over in the leadoff spot. Cliff Floyd at first base. This is one of the top rookies around. Marquise Grissom in center field. They're hoping he'll show off as a superstar this year. Larry Walker in right field, batting cleanup. Moises Alou is in left field. A remarkable comeback from a terrible injury. The catcher, Fletcher, hits 6th. Wilfredo Cordero is hitting 7th. And shortstop, Sean Barry at third base. And the pitcher, Pedro Martinez. The Dodgers have taken the field. And in the mouth of the Dodgers, another Pedro Estacio, for whom Pedro Martinez worked in relief quite often last year. And Estacio has needed a lot of relief so far this year. He's been hit hard.
Well, he's off to a very slow start. He has a good fastball and a good changeup, but his problem has been throwing strikes. If he can stay ahead of the hitters, he can get them to chase the off-speed pitches. But if he falls behind, then they sit on the fastball. And defensively, for the Dodgers, Jose Offerman has been the key since he's been in the major leagues. in 92, 42 errors, 37 last year. He did cut down on his errors, but errors are not the only way you judge a player, and I think he has really improved a lot since his first year.
Pedro Astacio, last year he led the Dodgers with 14 victories. He was 14-9 with a 3.57 earned run average. He was tough to hit. 186 in the third innings, only 165 hits allowed. He is only 24 years of age. He's from the Dominican Republic, but so far Astacio has been hit hard in 1994. So he's an important man for the Dodgers, who've always, since coming to Dodger Stadium, relied on pitching first and foremost. The series began Friday night. The Expos defeated the Dodgers 7-6 in that one. Larry Walker hit a big home run. Shaw won it in relief, and Rojas, who's worked 5 days in a row, got the save in that one. Then last night, the Dodgers blew a 6-1 lead and lost the ball game in 11 innings, 8-6, and lost Delino DeShields at least for a couple of days. Scott won it, McDowell lost it, and Rojas, of course, saved another one. By the way, Rojas is available again tonight. So here we go. Mike Lansing will lead it off here at Dodger Stadium. The Dodgers only 7-11 at the start of the year. And this has been a very troublesome weekend for Tommy Lasorda, because his ball club this week are showing signs of life for the first time. Last Sunday, they beat the Pirates in Pittsburgh to wrap up a road trip. They won that game 19-2. Then in Philadelphia Tuesday, they made a dramatic come-from-behind effort, down 7-3 to the Phillies in the 7th inning. They won that ball game, came home, and they belted the Mets one night, 13-3. Looked like they were ready to start a roll. Now all of a sudden they've lost the first 2 games here to the Expos. Mike Lansing, the hitter, and the count goes to 2-0.
And Lansing inherited Delino DeShields' job as the second baseman and the leadoff hitter for the Expos when DeShields was traded to the Dodgers. Lansing played a lot of third base last year.
Well, it's one thing to be given Delino DeShields' position, but Delino DeShields is the guy who had the high on base average. He stole bases. He really was the igniter. Tough man to replace.
It's interesting because DeShields, Grissom, Walker, Alou, all these players, came up through the minor leagues. They're all, through the farm system of the Expos, and they're all pretty good friends, and I think they all work together real well. And you take one out, it kind of disrupts them, and I think that's the reason they started off slow.
3-2 now to Lansing. There's Marquise Grissom. He was very outspoken about the trade and continues even into the season to criticize the deal that sent his good friend and former teammate DeShields away. Base hit past Karros. So Lansing is aboard, and that will bring up Cliff Floyd. Now this is a rookie that many were projecting as the rookie of the year coming into the start of the season. He hit .329 in Double-A last year, then went up to a Triple-A ball, hit .240 there. The guy who can steal a base. He stole 33 bases last year. Got power, hit 26 home runs in Double-A ball. Tim Wallach, the former Expo, too late. That's one of the reasons why they think Floyd is so exceptional. What speed that was.
Well, he really runs well, and I was surprised that Wallach took so long to field the ball and throw it, because Floyd was picking up speed as he was going to the line. And this is not really a good bunt. He just kind of drags it toward third base. Now Wallach kind of takes his time. Now he fires to first base, and you'll see that Floyd clearly beats the throw to first base.
So the Expos have the table set for Marquise Grissom. Floyd, by the way, came into the game hitting .273. Here is Grissom hitting .288. 1 home run, 12 batted in. This is a guy who can steal 50, 60 bases. He can hit home runs. He's an excellent outfielder. As you said, Joe, he can do just about anything.
And if you're Astacio, the last thing you want to do is have to face Grissom, Walker, and Alou after allowing the first 2 runners to reach base.
Pedro Astacio just has not been able to get it together. Off to a difficult beginning tonight. Nice save by Piazza. 1 ball, 1 strike. I was asking Piazza before the game, Joe, about Astacio, and he says, well, he goes through a period where he looks like last year. He's got the same stuff, but he's not been consistent at all. He'll throw one great breaking ball, and then the next minute it looks terrible. He'll throw one fastball with good pop on it, and the next one has nothing. So they're perplexed. Wallach has it. They get 1 at second. And 2. Double play. Jeff Treadway turning it in place of DeShields. And Lansing takes third.
That was a great play at third base by Wallach. I mean, this ball looked like it was going into left field. Now watch the stab by Wallach. Stretches out as far as he can, then gives a perfect throw to Treadway at second base. Very easy to turn that double play. Chest-high throw from Wallach. The first throw is the most important, and he made it perfectly.
So just like that, 2 down and a runner at third base, and here is Larry Walker, the cleanup hitter for the Expos. And he takes ball 1.
Maybe Astacio's luck is changing, John, because with Grissom, Walker, and Alou coming up, you could get into a lot of trouble, and he's gotten a double dip there on 1 ground ball. So luck could be changing.
And all of a sudden you start to think, oh boy, 2, 3 runs maybe here. 2-0 to Walker. Walker, 3 home runs, 14 batted in. Also multi-talented. He's a very fast runner.
He was a better base stealer in the minor leagues than DeShields or Grissom when they were coming up through the minor leagues. He was the best of the 3.
The Gold Glove quality outfielder, great arm. Right to Carlos. And the inning has ended. Astacio gets out of the jam. Promising start for the Expos. Nothing came of it. The Dodgers are coming up. No score.
The Dodgers are
Dodger Stadium, the beautiful ballpark, opened here in 1962. Tommy Lasorda once called it Blue Heaven on Earth. But these days, he just settled for a victory here against the Expos, which he has not gotten so far this weekend. Here's his batting order for tonight with the absence of DeShields. Butler leads off in center field. Still one of the best at the top of the order. Jose Offerman at shortstop. Mike Piazza has gotten it going lately, the catcher. Tim Wallach off to a fine start, hitting cleanup. Henry Rodriguez in left field. He and Snyder have been platooning out there. Eric Karros, rookie of the year 2 years ago at first base. Raul Mondesi, he's hurting, but he's in there. Jeff Treadway at second in place of DeShields, and Pedro Astacio is on the hill. Pitching for the Expos, the former Dodger, Pedro Martinez, the younger brother of the Dodgers, Ramon Martinez. And Joe, I mean, he leads the league in almost everything right now.
Well, he's gotten off to a great start, and he has a great fastball, and he has this is the 4-seam grip fastball. He also throws a 2-seam fastball, which sinks, has a curveball, and the pitch that I think makes him a great pitcher is his changeup. He has an exceptional circle change, and with a fastball like his, that changeup becomes more important.
Now, Joe, I was a little upset there because when with that picture of that 2-seamer,
yeah,
this one that sinks, it looked to me like it was scuffed.
Yeah.
We may have to go back to that. That's pretty incriminating. Here is Brett Butler. The operative stat for him is that on-base average, 443.
Brett Butler is as good a leadoff man as you can find in baseball, simply because he makes the pitcher work. He gives his teammates a chance to look at the pitcher's stuff in the first inning. He never walks up and hits the first pitch of the ball game.
Fair ball. And Butler rounds first. He's heading for second. And he'll pull up there. Now he's heading for third as Walker just dropped the ball out there. Butler was going to stop it with 2, and he goes to third, courtesy of Walker.
It's an interesting matchup here, John, because Butler knows that Martinez wants to pitch him inside because that's the place that you would pitch him if you're on his team. So he looks for a fastball inside. He pulls it down the line. Walker playing way over in right center field. No chance to do anything but finally pick it up, and that's the most embarrassing thing that can happen to you. You get ready to throw the ball back in, and you just drop it. So it should be a double and an error on Walker, and that's the way they score.
So a double for Butler, yeah, and the error against Walker, who is a Gold Glover out there ordinarily. I was surprised that Butler was pulling up with a double in the first place, showing a lot of respect, I guess, for Larry Walker's arm. Here's Offerman. Offerman, a switch hitter, hitting only 161, but he does have 10 runs batted in. Martinez gets it in there. By the way, when we showed the stats there on Pedro Martinez, I mentioned that he is leading the league in so many categories. One of them, which he is not leading in, is victories. Right. He does not have a single win.
He's left 2 games as late as the 8th inning when he was winning. Well, he was winning 1-0 against the Giants on Monday, and they could not hold the lead.
Butler, he gets the short out. Butler goes back to third. Looked like for a moment as though he's going to get Butler hung up.
Well, he had a shot at Butler. I was surprised that he did not, give it a little more consideration on throwing over there.
Batting third, number 31.
The one thing you have to be careful of if you're Martinez is to be too hyped up and try to overthrow the baseball. That's the one thing that he has to guard against tonight, because you're pitching against a team that traded you, and quite naturally you want to show them that they made a mistake, and sometimes you have a tendency to overthrow if you're a pitcher, or overswing if you're a hitter.
Mike Piazza. Fouled back. Well, now, last year, 35 homers for Piazza, well over 100 RBIs. And as of just a week ago, this year, he was hitting below 200. But in his last 9 games, he's hit .410 with 9 RBIs. So he started getting it going again.
Well, Martinez is up around 94 miles an hour with the fastball. Beautiful curveball, but it's just a little low. Normally, you like to pitch Piazza in or away. You do not. You have to stay out of the middle of the plate. He likes the ball out over the plate a little bit.
Well, let's pick up the speed on this one. It's that breaking ball, 77.
I really think that his curveball is his 4th best pitch. I think his 2 fastballs and his changeup. His changeup is outstanding. I think those are his best pitches. And then the breaking ball. Not that it's a poor pitch, but it's just ranking compared to the other pitches is about 4th in his repertoire.
No score in this game. We're in the last of the first inning. 1 out. Brett Butler at third base. The infield is deep all the way around. And that foul ball will come back out of play into the press box.
That was a good spot with that fastball out away from Piazza. All he could do was just kind of fight it off. 94 miles an hour, so he's staying right up in that range.
Brett Butler. Butler has now been on base 18 times in the last 6 games. 11 walks, 7 hits in that time. That one is hit high and deep into center field. Way back there. And into the spectators and the bleachers. A tremendous 2-run homer for Piazza. 2-0 Dodgers.
He liked the ball in and up a little bit. Because he's very strong, he can kind of fight the ball off. This is not a great swing. He's just so strong that he hits this ball out. It is not a Mike Piazza swing when the ball is out over the plate. This ball is in, and he just kind of fights it off. They were trying to stay away. Look, they set up on the outside corner. He fouls it off, and you stay out there. Then they thought they had him set up to come inside. So now they try to come inside. See, the catcher sit inside, but he was down. This pitch is up a little bit. He doesn't have a real good swing at it, really, but he hit it out of the ballpark.
Now Tim Wallach, and he fouls one away. 0-1 the count. That was the first home run allowed by Pedro Martinez this year. Piazza with his 3rd home run. Tim Wallach tried to hit one right there. 0-2 the count. Now Wallach is hitting .281, 4 homers and 15 driven in. He's not been very strong with the bat the last few years, but this is one of his best starts in a while. Slider. Did he swing? They're going to ask. Yes. Jeff Kellogg, the first base umpire brings him up.
Without looking at a replay, I thought he swung as well. We will look at a replay now. And you can see the bat did go past through the strike zone. Watch, you'll go through the hitting zone when the ball is there. That is a swing. He could not stop it in time.
2 men down, and here is Henry Rodriguez, his Wallach. Disappointedly, heads back to the Dodger dugout. Henry Rodriguez, he and Corey Snyder right now sharing the left field duties that were supposed to belong to Darryl Strawberry. The cleanup spot was supposed to belong to Strawberry. And, of course, Strawberry is now in a drug and alcohol rehabilitation center. And the thinking is out here that he will probably never don a Dodgers uniform again.
Tommy Lasorda had some interesting things to say when all this happened.
2-1 to Rodriguez. There's Corey Snyder. And as you saw, he and Rodriguez have been rather productive. Most of their production has come this last week to 10 days. Snyder had 3 home runs in a game about 10 days ago. 2-2 now to Henry Rodriguez. 2-0. The Dodgers ahead here in the first inning.
And that's the first time we've actually seen the good changeup from Martinez.
That's a base hit. They're getting around at his hard stuff right now.
I believe that they have seen Martinez pitch, of course, so they realize that he tries to put people away a lot of times with the fastball. So they're all sitting on the fastball, and so far they've been hitting it pretty hard. Butler, Piazza, and now Rodriguez have all hit the ball hard off of Martinez's fastball.
Now Eric Karros off to a slow start in terms of his run production. Batting average is all right, but that's not what he's paid for. Rookie of the Year 2 years ago. Piazza won the honor last year. And Karros and Piazza are roomies here in Southern California. And that's got to be the life. They got a place down on the beach, both with the Dodgers, both high-profile players.
Karros also went to UCLA, so I mean he's never left LA. I mean he's been around here a long time. He knows all the places to go.
Grew up in San Diego. Now Piazza is not a Southern California native. He's from Pennsylvania. 1 ball and no strikes. That is foul. They are kind of an odd couple, though. I mean, the Southern California guy and the guy from Pennsylvania. And they say that it is only Karros who ever buys groceries.
Well, I believe a little bit of the Southern California rubbing off on the Pennsylvania guy. Kind of likes this California lifestyle.
Well, Piazza
and I don't blame him.
He said, I've never bought groceries since we've lived there, and I'm proud to say that. They got a place at the beach, but they don't believe in eating in. 1 ball, 1 strike to Karros. 2-1 the count. But that's kind of nice, Joe. I mean, nowadays, guys kind of go their separate ways. They leave the ballpark. And there's 2 guys who enjoy each other's company, talk about the game a little bit.
I'm sure that's what they do when they lie around on the beach, talk about the game.
Back to the bag at first is Henry Rodriguez. 2-0. The Dodgers ahead here in the first. With Floyd on the bag over there with Rodriguez. Karros is the 6th man to bat in the inning for the Dodgers. There's that changeup.
I believe you will see Martinez use the changeup a lot more the second time around, especially through this lineup, because they are sitting on the fastball. And there's the circle change. And you can see it doesn't stay straight. It actually moves in on the right-handed hitter and away from the left-handed hitter. That's what also helps to make it effective.
And the curveball got him looking. Strike 3. But the Dodgers get 2 on that man's 2-run homer, Mike Piazza. Dodgers Dodgers 2, Expos nothing. Sunday Night Baseball from Los Angeles. Tommy Lasorda made some comments following Darryl Strawberry's decision to seek drug rehabilitation treatment.
No, it's not a sickness. It's a weakness. When you allow something to go into your body that you know has a chance to really hurt you, how in the world can that be a sickness?
Well, I think the frustration of dealing with Darryl the last couple of years all came out right there with Tommy Lasorda. I believe that that's the way he feels, and I think he has grounds for feeling the way that he does.
Here is Moises Alou, and he takes a called strike. It is 0-1.
I want to say Moises Alou asked me to say hello to his mother, who's watching in the Dominican Republic. Her name is Maria, so hello from Moises.
And a nice curveball from Astacio. 0-2 the count. Alou was not supposed to be able to play right now after a terrible break there. Left leg down near the ankle. This is Treadway. And he throws out Moises Alou. Alou not only is playing from the very start of the season, but he came in tonight hitting .383. The only thing he's not really doing right now is running as well as he did in the past, which I guess all things considered, they'll live with that right now.
Well, it's a hard .383 too, because he's hit a game-winning home run. He's driven in some key runs, and he's swinging the bat very well.
Now Darren Fletcher, left-handed batting catcher. He and Lenny Webster have been doing most of the catching for the Expos. And Webster last night won the ball game for them. He's the right-handed hitter, formerly with the Twins. Hit a 2-run homer in the 11th inning to win the ball game. 1 ball, 1 strike. 2-0 Dodgers.
If you watch Astacio and Martinez, they are similar in a lot of ways. They both have good fastballs that tail in to the right-handed hitter, and they both have good off-speed pitches. But I think Martinez is using his a lot better in that he throws more strikes than Astacio does. If Astacio can just stay ahead of the hitters, he can become an excellent pitcher.
Shallow right field. Mondesi's going to stay out of the picture on this one. Big smile on his face as Treadway goes out to catch it. Similar play last night, and it was a disaster as DeShields and Mondesi collided.
Well, as a second baseman, I always felt you should know where the outfielder is. You do not want him to run over you. Fastball in, jammed him. See Treadway calling him carols off, and he makes the play. Now he smiles at Mondesi.
2 down. Here is Wilfredo Cordero, the shortstop of the Expos. Cordero, a guy with some great range and tools as a shortstop. He's made an enormous number of errors over there, much like Offerman of the Dodgers the last couple of years. Cordero hitting only .246 and already has 4 errors this year.
John, I think he's going to be an excellent offensive player. He's going to have to work on his defense, but I really think he's going to be a good hitter.
Up into the twilight in left field, Henry Rodriguez. And down in order go the Expos against Astacio. 2-0 Los Angeles. Mondesi coming up.
Welcome back to our Sunday Night Baseball coverage. Gary Miller back here in the studio to keep you abreast of the other important items in baseball. And let's start that with tonight's K-Factor, brought to you by Kellogg's. Andy Bettis broke a 9-game losing streak that dated back to September. He now leads the National League with 35 strikeouts. Let's go back to John and Joe at Chavez Ravine.
Thank you, Gary. That's the view from Chavez Ravine here in Los Angeles. Twilight time in Southern California. Raul Mondesi right out to Marquise Grissom in center field, and just like that, Mondesi is retired. Mondesi a little beaten up after his collision with Delino DeShields last night, and for a while before the game it looked like he might not be able to play.
Yeah, we're going to show you his injuries his next time he comes to the plate. John, the one thing that I'm looking at, here's the collision last night. He hurt his right shoulder, his right hip, and his right shin. His ribs on the right side. But the thing that I'm impressed with is the Dodgers have a definite game plan of attacking Martinez. They are not taking fastball strikes. They're swinging at all the fastballs that have been strikes. The first pitch there to Mondesi, he swung at it. They're taking the off-speed pitches first, but they're not letting the fastballs go. I think their theory is that they're trying not to get behind in the count where he can throw them the changeup. So they're hitting all the fastballs that they see.
Jeff Treadway, the hitter. You have to like this Dodger bench if somehow they can stay alive in the pennant race. They've got some experienced people on the bench who've shown they can play. Guys like Jeff Treadway. There's Chris Gwynn, Tony's younger brother. They picked him up again from Kansas City. He was sitting there with Corey Snyder, a guy who can help you in a lot of ways all around the outfield. Play shortstop. He can play third base, first base. Also, Dave Hansen has turned into one of the best pinch hitters in the National League. Very fine left-handed hitter.
John, I actually thought the Dodgers were going to really give the Giants a run for their money, you know, at the beginning of the season until the Strawberry incident happened, because I felt like with his power and Piazza's power, they were going to be able to, you know, bounce back and have an excellent season. And they still may be able to. But there's no doubt in my mind that the fact that the Strawberry thing happened a day, you know, a couple days before the season started, that it threw their balance off. And now they're just getting their rhythm together and making themselves realize, hey, we're going to have to do it ourselves. We do not have him anymore.
There's that changeup. Down goes Treadway.
And that's why they do not want to take any fastballs. They're jumping on every changeup fastball they see. This is a beautiful changeup because he has great arm speed. And you have to respect the fastball, and you jump at the changeup. And there's this circle changeup. And he reminds me of Mario Soto, who pitched for the Cincinnati Reds. A great circle change and a great fastball. The better your fastball is, the more effective your changeup is. And the more effective your changeup is, the better it makes your fastball. So it's kind of the chicken and the egg. They both go hand in hand there.
Well, and you know, that was just like swinging at the chicken and the egg at the same time. That's what happens if you swing at them both.
Well, no chance for Estacio. I think he just wants to get his 3 swings and get back on the mound.
I think they should have just sent him home on that one.
Ooh. That was a big league fastball right there.
All right. Well, Estacio is gone quickly. Thank goodness.
Lots of games coming up, huh? And everyone thinks they're on the best team. And everyone else stinks. Man, you guys got big heads. Wednesday night, it's the Philadelphia Phillies versus the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Time now for Professor Morgan.
John, we have some good base stealers in this game, but the guy who brought the excitement of base stealing back into baseball was Maury Wills. Let's take a look at his right foot. These are the keys. He does not move his right foot. He doesn't pick it up and set it back down and run in place as a lot of base runners do. The second thing is he throws his left side of his body and his hips towards second base. This generates a lot of momentum going toward the bag, and that's exactly what you want. The third thing he does is he comes out of this in a sprinter's run. He stays down low. As you can see, he's driving real low until he gets close to the bag, and then he slides. He always slid to the outside edge of the bag, and he could stay there. A lot of people hit the outside edge, they come off. Those are some of the things that made him a great base stealer. I think he read pitchers better than any base stealer that I've ever seen, and he had a big influence on not only my career, but most of the other guys who played and came after Maury.
Professor Joe Morgan talking about Professor Maury Wills.
And he was a professor at this.
As Sean Barry drops one into left center field for a base hit for Les Expos. The third hit for Montreal against Estacio. 2-0, the Dodgers ahead. And that'll bring up Pedro Martinez. You know, Maury Wills, there were guys faster than Maury.
Right, exactly.
But, I mean, Maury always knew, it seemed, if the pitcher was throwing to first or going home. He could just read every pitcher, every nuance.
I mean, he could read a pitcher better than, as I said, anyone I've ever seen. And a lot of guys were faster. On his own team, Willie Davis was faster. Tommy Harper, he was probably faster too, but Maury just had the knack of knowing exactly when the pitcher was going to the plate.
Tommy Harper, ooh, a good base stealer in his own right, as Pedro Martinez shows bunt.
And Tim Wallach was standing about 10 feet from the plate when he drew the back and was going to swing. Wallach may not charge as quickly this time.
comes. Took it, and it's 2-0. Astacio refusing to throw Martinez a strike here.
After Martinez made him look as bad as he did, I would think that you'd go right after it.
There's a strike. Again, right on top of him. Wallach will play it to first.
Very good bunt by Martinez.
Treadway covering. Barry over to second.
Oh, take a look at how close Wallach is. Now, he charges when he sees Martinez square around, but a very good bunt by Martinez down the first base line. You try to make the first baseman field it, but as long as you get it on that side, it'll work.
Now here is Mike Lansing, leadoff man. 2-0. The Dodgers lead the Expos as we play the third here. Cliff Floyd on deck. By the way, we're talking about Maury Wills. Maury's at the game tonight. We're hoping that Maury will be able to stop by with us here shortly. Maury's a guy who's not in the Hall of Fame, and it's hard to understand why.
Definitely changed the game.
I mean, Maury Wills was a career minor leaguer. A guy who just did not hit in the minor leagues. There's Maury in the jacket, explaining base stealing to a couple of maybe future Dodgers there. But Maury, it was 28 years old before he got to the big leagues. And certainly there were guys who could outrun him at that point. But Maury had become a switch hitter. Bobby Bragan taught him to bunt in the minor leagues. Maury became a great bunter. And although he got that late start, Joe, over 2,000 hits from Maury Wills. Much less the fact that he changed the game. He was an MVP, 1962. He had such an impact that in a year where Willie Mays hit 49 home runs on a pennant-winning Giants team, Maury Wills won the MVP award that year.
Well, there's no doubt in my mind how he changed the game as we know it now. Maury Wills is responsible for speed being as important as it is in today's game.
1 ball and 2 strikes to Mike Lansing. On the curveball. Checked his swing, did Lansing. The appeal denied by Jeff Kellogg. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Lansing.
One interesting note on Maury Wills, John, also in the 60s, a home run hitter would hit a home run, they'd knock the next guy down. Maury Wills is the only guy I know that troubled the other team so much that they'd knock the next hitter down because he stole so many bases. I mean, they would do that because he irritated them so much, like a home run hitter.
104 steals in 1962, and he got thrown out 13 times, and most of those were pickoffs. That's a foul off to the right.
His theory of base stealing was a lot different than most people. In fact, Maury Wills said if you didn't have to dive back to first base, you didn't have a big enough lead. And I agree with that. A lot of guys say if you get too far out, it means you have a defensive lead. Maury's theory was you have to get out there, and if you could walk back, well, you didn't have a big enough lead. Makes a lot of sense to me.
But in the park, knew he was going to steal. They'd do everything they could think of to keep it from happening, and yet he stole. Tim Wallach. Barry has to hold at second. Lansing is retired. 2 men gone. Cliff Floyd is coming up. Yeah, the Expos, this is a franchise that just keeps producing outstanding, multi-talented young talent. I mean, they came up with DeShields, Marquise Grissom, Larry Walker, Moises Alou. Now the next wave of outstanding young talent coming along. Cliff Floyd. They got a fellow by the name of Rondell White, who will be here shortly. And a little further down the line, a guy named Curtis Pride, who may be better than any of them. The man who was one of the architects of all of that, this great player development system. Dan Duquette is now the general manager of the Boston Red Sox. Floyd got jammed in the ball. The whole infield's coming in after it. And Carroll takes it. Floyd is retired. Barry is stranded. Brett Butler, Jose Offerman. John Miller, Joe Morgan, and look who stopped by. Maury Wills. Good to see you, Maury.
Good to see you, John.
It's a big thrill for me, Maury, because we were just talking about how you changed the face of baseball. Well, you know, with your speed, you changed the game. You know, when you started stealing all those bases, made the rest of us important again.
Brett Butler, the hitter, leading it off for the Dodgers, leading 2-0 in the ball game. He takes ball one. So Joe, what? I mean, Professor Maury Wills, the professor of base stealing. I mean,
well, look. First of all, Joe could steal a base as well as anybody.
Not as good as you, but it's good. But good.
Okay. Oh, I'll go along with it.
All right. But I want to tell you another thing. I use this all the time. Remember, I came here one day and I asked you. I said, I didn't steal second base a lot, and Sparky Anderson wanted me to steal second base more, third base more. So I came to you and asked you what was the advantages of stealing third base.
Yeah.
And you talked to me. You said there are 9 more ways that you can score from second, third base with 2 outs that you couldn't score from second. So you made a lot of sense to me. And just give me a little bit of your philosophy about stealing a base. You know, in the days you played here with Koufax and Drysdale, etc., the one run won the ball game most of the time, and you manufactured runs. Did you consciously think of this when you're in the minor leagues, or is it something that happened just as you got to the big leagues?
Well, Joe, when I was a kid on the playgrounds in the projects back in Washington, D.C., we didn't have fences. So when you hit a ball in the gap, the ball would roll forever, and we would run forever. So running was a big thing rather than hitting home runs. So when I got into pro ball, naturally, base stealing and base running was the thing that I enjoyed doing the most. I believe that getting on third base rather than being on second base, even with 2 outs. You've got to make it, though, if you steal.
Right.
You've got to make it because you're in scoring position already at second base. But if the infield is tightened up, and on infield hits, I can score from second base. And I put pressure on the pitcher. He can't bounce the curveball, and it changes the game.
That's exactly right. You know, I use the term, I say there are people who steal bases, and then there are base stealers. By that, my meaning is there are guys who could steal a base when everybody in the park knew they were going, and then other guys steal bases just for numbers.
Absolutely. And it's tough to steal the base when the pitcher throws over there 15 or 16 consecutive times, knowing that you've got to run, and you've got to run early in the count before the hitter gets too far in the hole and make it.
By the way, Jose Offerman is at the plate here for the Dodgers. In the count 3-2 to him, 1 out and nobody on. Maury Wills here, along with Joe Morgan, 2 of the great base stealers. Do you guys ever compare notes? I mean, did Joe Morgan do it differently than you did, Maury?
No, Joe was a conventional type of base stealer. You know, he would take the lead and get off the base and hold his position, and he would read the pitcher.
Well, let's see how Maury did it.
Wow. Well, see, right there, I'm in the standstill position. I'm ready to go either way. Back to first if he throws over, and I'm going to second. And my first step is a crossover step. You notice I never looked, because if I look, I slow myself down at least a half step.
Look toward the plate, you mean?
Yeah, as I'm running. And also, I always slid on the right-hand side away from the throw coming from the catcher.
See, I was right, John. I just talked about all those things, and I was right. I said
your credibility really went up with me, Joe.
Joe knows what he's talking about.
I want to ask you one other question here that's kind of difficult for you to answer maybe, but John just brought it up. Are you disappointed that you haven't been elected to the Hall of Fame?
Well, yes, Joe, I am, but I've learned to live with it, and I'm just going to have to. It have to be that way. I do believe I will go in when I qualify in the veterans division or the old-timers. I don't like to say old-timers.
Right. No, it's better.
Veterans. Yeah.
Mike Piazza, the hitter. And Maury, what about these current Dodgers? What about Mike Piazza? Is this guy for real? I mean, he hit a long home run the first time up tonight.
Yes. Now, Mike Piazza was not supposed to make the ball club last year. He was in spring training. You know, he's a good prospect. The Dodgers felt they'd just bring him to Los Angeles and then send him back to Albuquerque maybe after a couple of weeks. But he fooled everybody. And it's going to show you what can happen if you just work hard.
Well, he's not going to be able to fool anybody this year. I mean, they all know about him. They're all coming after him this year.
That's right. He's got the second year supposed to be the tough year, but I think Mike will be all right. He's a solid player.
2,134 hits, Maury. Not many shortstops had that many hits.
2,134. I told you that myself, didn't I, John?
I looked it up.
John, that's not bad for a guy who spent 8.5 years in the minor leagues. And I came up when I was about, I think I was 27. But it seems like as the longer it has been, the older I was when I came up.
Yeah, John said you were 28.
Yeah.
Yeah, and tomorrow I'll say you're 29.
Yeah, but you know, I owe all that to Bobby Bragan. I was in the minor leagues, strictly a right-handed hitter, definitely afraid of the curveball. And so Bobby Bragan saw me horsing around the batting cage doing batting practice one time. We were in Spokane, Washington, Pacific Coast League, and I took a couple of swings from the left side. So he called me over and asked me if I thought of switching. And I said, no. He said, well, look, you're in a 7.5-year slump. You have nothing to lose. So we went out and he threw to me for about 4 days, and then he said, go in there, you're a switch hitter now. And, you know, I never looked back. I was in the big leagues the next year.
Well, that's an amazing story to convert that quickly.
Yes. You know, I worked hard. You know, it didn't come easy.
Piazza in the end of right field. Larry Walker in foul territory. Now, Offerman tagged up on that play. And Walker doesn't know how many outs there were. He gave it. Offerman will go back to third.
Well, wait a minute. This is something I don't understand. I think Walker gave the ball to a fan.
He thought that was the third out.
Yeah, but how can they? I don't understand how. Well, I guess it's like a throw into the seats. Okay, I guess that's what they're saying. It's like a throw into the seats. You get 2 bases. Even though he didn't throw it in, he gave it to someone. He thought it was 3 out.
I'm surprised Walker remembered to show up tonight.
You get 2 bases beyond the base you already have.
Right. See, and he gives it to that kid.
Yeah.
Here's the funny part. He goes back to get it, though. That's what's funny.
Yeah.
What if the kid doesn't give it to him?
Right now, at this point, Offerman is still on the way to second base, which means he only gets third.
Now watch. So he goes back to get the ball.
Oh. Maury.
Yeah.
It's often said that you see something new all the time in the ballpark. Have you ever seen that?
Well, I haven't, but maybe nothing like that, John. You and Joe do so many games, you might have seen something.
I've never seen that, Maury.
Maybe if we live right, we'll never see it again. I mean, that is the worst, isn't it?
Yeah, but they have to give him an error. There has to be a fly out and an error on the right fielder.
Second error of the game for this Gold Glover, Larry Walker.
And Felipe Alou played right field. He said, I never did that.
No, Felipe saying, what's going to happen next?
That one is deep in the left field, way back, and this one is on its way. Tim Wallach, a 2-run homer. 4-0 Dodgers.
Well, again, they're picking on the fastball with Pedro. A 92-mile-an-hour fastball, but Karros was able to turn. Wallach was able to turn it around. Wallach is basically a low ball hitter. This pitch is about belt high, and he gets all of it. A beautiful swing there, good extension.
Man.
Kind of like Maury used to hit him.
Sure. I could chop that in about 6 singles, Joe, and about 4 stolen bases.
Now, if you're,
maybe 5 runs scored.
If you're Pedro Martinez, before that pitch is delivered, I mean, you standing there saying, does anybody on my ball club care that I'm out here trying to win this ball game? I mean, these guys, Larry Walker made 2 very bad plays tonight.
And Pedro is trying to be serious. He's back here where he got traded from.
Yeah, this is a big night for him.
Yeah, he might be trying too hard, though. I can understand what he's going through.
4-0 for the Dodgers. A couple of 2-run homers. And last one, the 5th home run of the year for Wallach. This is Henry Rodriguez. Well, Maury, I know a lot of people in your situation, they sometimes worry in the Hall of Fame voting if they make a whole lot of it. Maybe that works against them. But I think your numbers stand for themselves. We don't need to say anything. Just take a look at the baseball encyclopedia under Maury Wills, and the numbers are all right there, much less the impact you had in the game.
Yeah, I appreciate that, John. Okay.
We'll take a look at the line drive back through the middle by Rodriguez. It's a fastball, and again, they are jumping on the first fastball that they see from Martinez. I think he needs to start more hitters off with off-speed pitches just to change the rhythm, because they're all sitting on the fastball. But they know him well from him pitching here, so they know that he likes to use the fastball, and he likes to get ahead in the count, and they're taking advantage of it tonight.
And, Joe, you know, I like what Felipe Alou is doing right now. His manager, you know, no one's in the bullpen.
Right.
He knows that Pedro really wants to do well here. He's back in Los Angeles, and it's still just 4-0.
Right.
But they're still in the ball game, and so he's giving the kid a chance.
Eric Karros, the hitter, and he takes ball 1.
Well, they fell behind 5-0 last night, and then 6-2, and ended up winning the ball game. So they're capable of scoring runs.
Maury, what are you doing these days? I know you've been going to the spring training with the Mets there.
Yeah, last year, my good friend and former teammate Jeff Tobor was the manager. Jeff's no longer there, and so I'm waiting for Jeff to get another job.
Would you like to?
I'm part of the musical chairs now, John.
Would you like to be back in the game, coaching, instructing?
Oh, sure I
like
would.
that?
Baseball is my life. I love it. But I can honestly say, though, I feel comfortable until that happens, if that happens. And if it doesn't, that's fine, too. I love the game, and I always will.
You know, Maury, I made a statement last year on one of our telecasts that when you think about how important base stealing is to the game and base running, not just base stealing, but base running, that there are very few people that can teach base stealing or base running in this game. I mean, if I had a son, who would you send him to? There's Tommy Harper, of course, Davey Lope. But outside of those two, I can't think of very many people who've had success in the major leagues and could teach base stealing.
That's right.
So guys like yourself, you know, Lou Brock, some of these guys should be very, very valuable commodities.
I would think so, Joe. And as you pointed out, you're not talking about base stealing as much as you're talking about base running. Base running affects the entire ball club and involves the entire ball club. The slowest runner on the team. We're talking about going from first to third on hits you should go on, depending on your running speed. And scoring from second on base hits you should score on, depending on your running speed. And it's done with technique, know-how. And the base stealing is just for a few guys.
Right, exactly.
But it's tough when you only go from one base to the other on a base hit. You know, you got to go from first to third on hits if you're going to be a winning team.
Can that be taught?
Oh, absolutely. It all starts with technique, knowing what you're doing and how to get the proper lead off the base. Joe knows all this.
Well,
How's it feel to be a Hall of Famer?
Well, why don't you guys do this?
Good.
Why don't you open the Joe Morgan, Maury Wills base stealers, base running school? You know, Pete Newell has that big man's camp every summer for the big centers in the NBA. Why don't you guys open a base stealers school every winter?
Joe's got this soft job up here with you.
Yeah, you're right, John. I don't want to do anything else.
All right, well, the heck with Joe then, Maury. You and I'll run it.
Yeah, sure.
I'll handle all the business stuff.
You do the instructions on it. Yeah. Good to see you, John.
I'll make the deposits, and you
make
go
the
out there and you teach
deposits,
those
all right.
guys. This is Raul Mondesi. Now, this guy, they're excited about him, aren't they, here?
Oh, yeah. I've worked with him in the Dodger minor leagues on base running and base stealing. He's got good speed. And he loves the game of baseball. Young, strong. Reminds me of Pete Reiser. Pete Reiser was a left-handed hitter, but he's built like Pete Reiser. And he's got a lot of speed to be so strong.
Kept crashing into walls
Yeah,
all the time.
he'll do it, too. He runs into players.
Did you ever have a collision like DeShields and Mondesi had last night?
No, the most dangerous play in baseball is an infielder running back for a fly ball with an outfielder coming in and they collide. And the infielder will always get the worst of it.
But it never happened to you?
No. I say let the ball fall and let's live and play another day. Tommy Davis used to tell me, keep coming in until you hear me. I said,
Maury Wills. Maury, thanks for coming by.
You're welcome.
4-0 Dodgers. That's 2 outs, Larry. Dodgers 4, Expos nothing. Sunday night baseball from Los Angeles. This is John Miller with Joe Morgan, your Sunday night telecasters. And the big guns are coming up for the Expos. They're down 4-0. And Pedro Astacio, who started the night with a 9.18 earned run average, versus Pedro Martinez with a .86 earned run average. And yet, it is Astacio who has things well under control right now. He's pitched real well. And Pedro Martinez, as you heard Maury Wills say, perhaps just trying a little bit too hard tonight against his former team. He was hurt when they traded him. He just couldn't believe it. He'd had just a great season for them in long relief, coming out of the bullpen last year. And he and Delino DeShields were both just shocked that they could be traded like that. Tim Wallach. And Karros kept his foot in the bag. with the big stretch. One away.
John, we talked about seeing new things every week here on Sunday Night Baseball. This is something I've never seen in the 20-plus years that I've played and the 20 years I've watched the game. But here's Walker going into the dugout after that, you know, as some people say, that's vapor lock. You know, and you know, you have to laugh about it because it's already done. I mean, but you take that seriously because you say, hey, keep your head in the game. And that's exactly what you're supposed to do. But I don't think there's any player that has not made a mental mistake one time or another in this game.
Brain cramp.
Yeah.
Caro's nice pickup on the between hop. Stasio with a putout. 2 men gone. Let's go now to Gary Miller.
John, MCI proof positive takes us to Atlanta. The Braves in the throes of a 4-game losing streak. How to end it? Give it over to Greg Maddux. Whipping Merced, Bell, McClendon, a 3-0 shutout of the Pirates, a career-high 11 strikeouts. Maddux 4-1 as we go back to Chavez Ravine.
I think Martinez got angry. He lost the game a couple of weeks, about his last time out. He gave up a couple of unearned runs and lost. So he took care of that. He didn't give up any today.
Well, that's what being a stopper is all about. They only put 3 on the board, and that was more than enough to end a 4-game losing streak. The Braves are now 14-5. Moises Alou, the hitter, grounded out to second his first time. Offerman from deep in the hole. Nice throw. Made it look easy. Well, Estasio's on a roll now. He gets the big guns in order on 7 pitches. 4-0 Dodgers after 3.5. It's been a long night for Larry Walker, normally the best of right fielders in the National League. And Joe, he's returning the ball to the kid. When he gave that little kid the ball, he then realized his mistake and took it back from him to throw it back into play. So he replaced it, and the kid is all smiles. Larry Walker's a good guy.
Yes, he is.
Not too bright, maybe, but a good guy.
Well, the other thing is, you know, usually a player will be so upset with himself he forgets about the kid. But you have to give Larry credit. He still thought, you know, enough to take the ball back and give it to the kid.
And I was just kidding about why he's very bright. And he's an outstanding player. But sometimes under the intense glare of the magnitude of Sunday Night Baseball, Joe, things happen to players.
He made that kid very happy. In fact, he looks like he has a brand new ball. The other one was used a little bit.
Got a pearl.
Yeah, pearl. Yeah.
Jeff Treadway, the hitter. That's how to play. Meanwhile, Pedro Martinez, none too pleased about any of this. And you know, I mean, Pedro Martinez, it's his job to get the out. But after just a ridiculous play like that, well, perhaps not such a coincidence, the very next pitch is a home run.
Well, it has to affect your concentration a little bit because, as you said, is there anybody else out here thinking but myself, you know?
Yeah, does anybody else out here want to win this game but me? Mike Piazza, 2-run homer in the first, and then Wallach, a 2-run shot in the third. 4-0 Dodgers, and we're in the last of the fourth. Now, Pedro, in his new role, he was, remember, primarily a relief pitcher with the Dodgers. They wondered if he would have the stamina. He's not a very big guy to be a starting pitcher. They knew he had the arm for it, but in his new role as a starter, he's just been sensational this year. That one goes foul, and that's one of the few things that's gone right for Pedro tonight. But he had given up only 2 runs and 9 hits in 21 innings before today. In 3 starts, just 2 runs in 21 innings. Now that's amazing. Almost had a perfect game one night against the Cincinnati Reds. And of course, and everybody should know about that one by now. This is Sean Barry. And Treadway is out on the broken bat ground ball. Now Pedro Estacio will try it again.
Pitcher, Pedro
Estacio wins our award for worst at bat of the last 3-4 years, I'd say, with his strikeout there in the second inning. He does have a hit this year. Oh, a mighty cut. 0-1. Twilight time in Southern California. Sunset behind us to the west. Blue Pacific. One big hop to Floyd at first, and Astacio is retired. 2 men down. Dodger Stadium silhouetted against the early evening sky here in Southern California. Actually, we had rain here earlier today.
But the rain made it as clear a day as you're ever going to get here in Southern California, John. It was a clear blue sky day after the rain stopped.
I can see clearly now. The rain has gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. It'll be a bright, bright, sunshiny day.
Maybe you and Maury used to play the banjo. Maybe you can sing for him, you know? You guys can take that act on the road.
Maury inspired me, that's it.
You can take that act on the road.
Look all around, Joe. There's nothing but blue skies. Look straight ahead. All right, that's enough.
Again, John, they are really attacking his fastball. The first fastball he throws in the strike zone, they're swinging at. So I think the next time Martinez faces the Dodgers, he will make some adjustments and maybe start some people off with some sliders and try to get ahead in the count, because they're not allowing him to get ahead with his fastball.
2-1 to Brett Butler. He led off the first inning with a double, starting a 2-run rally. Then he lined out to first in the third. Brett is 1 for 2. Not quite sure what the future holds for him. That is a fair ball, and he may run all day. Larry Walker. Butler easily makes it to third. A stand-up triple. His third triple of the year.
Martinez is behind in the count 2-1. He throws another fastball in, and Butler pulls it down the line. You can see he's really upset because he doesn't think that Butler should be pulling this fastball, but he keeps getting it inside. And Butler is turning on it, and he pulls this one inside the bag. You can see the defense, Floyd, well off the line because they do not expect Butler to pull Martinez's fastball. Let's see what Walker does with this one. Well, he doesn't give this one to a kid. And Butler has a triple.
Now Jose Offerman to the comebacker, and he has walked. The sinker is low for ball 1. You know, in his first 3 starts this year, Pedro Martinez had hit 5 batters. Not afraid to work inside. And with all the movement that many of his pitches have, he'd had guys jumping and hopping out of the way. Occasionally he'd hit a batter. But we haven't seen that tonight. I don't remember any Dodger hitter offhand who's had to hit the deck or really get quickly out of harm's way.
Well, no doubt about it. He has not moved the ball in off the plate against the hitters, but I think that's because he was in trouble from the first hitter tonight, John. Butler started the game off with a double.
That one into left center and caught by Alou with Grissom alongside, and that is the inning. A triple for Butler, but he is stranded. Darren Fletcher, the catcher, will lead it off when we get back. 4-0 Dodgers. Dodgers 4, Expos nothing after 4. Sunday night baseball from L.A. ESPN's exclusive NFL draft coverage continues tomorrow morning at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific on the Deuce ESPN2. Chris Berman, Joe Theismann and company will be back with 7 more hours of live draft coverage. That's tomorrow on ESPN2, beginning at 10 a.m. Eastern. Darren Fletcher, the hitter, 0-1 the count to him as he faces Pedro Astacio. The Dodgers' big winner from a year ago, and for the first time this year, looking like the Astacio who won those 14 ball games a year ago.
Well, there are a lot of things happen when you get out in front right away. He's had a 2-0 lead after 1 inning. That really helps your confidence.
I guess, Joe, in a way, you can go right back to the third batter of this game, Marquise Grissom.
Right.
Astacio had given up back-to-back singles. He was in trouble right away with the Expos' big hitter up there, and he got him to hit a double play ball. Ziegler on the run. He's there. That one fading at the warning track. Maury Wills talked some base stealing with us a little bit earlier. Tommy Harper was a great base stealer. And we talked to him about some of his thoughts on base stealing today.
What I teach is that once a player can go down this second base from first base in 3.1, which is a good time in the major leagues, then that's all he concerns himself with. You know, reading the pitches is fine, but if I run a 3-1 every time, then the catcher has to throw it down in 3 flat. So what I concern myself about is not so much what they're going to do on defense, is try to run my 3-1 consistently every time. Make them throw you out in 3-1. You don't want to get thrown out in 3-3. See, you're helping them then. So if I run in 3-1, guy throws me out in 3-1, and he throws it 3 flat, I tip my cap to him, go back to the dugout, come back again. If I get on base, I'm going again.
Well, that is definitely a different theory than Maury Wills. But Tommy Harper had a little more speed than Maury Wills. And some of the players today have great speed. They can work on that 3.1 or whatever the number is, as Tommy's talking about. Maury Wills read the pitcher because he didn't have blazing speed, and he had to make up his steps on the pitcher and not necessarily in the sprint itself.
Tommy Harper stole over 400 bases in the big leagues, more than 70 in 1 year. And he still has the Red Sox all-time stolen base single-season record. That's a base hit for Wilfredo Cordero, ahead of the throw by Treadway. Hit number 4 for the Expos.
John, I made a statement earlier that I thought Cordero was going to be an excellent hitter one of these days. I want to clarify that. The reason I believe he's going to be a real good hitter in this league is because he has a very live bat. The ball jumps off his bat. And even that ground ball there was an illustration. It had a lot of overspin on it and really jumped through the infield. I think he's going to be a good hitter once he gains a lot of some experience.
Sean Barry, the hitter. He singled his first time. Right-handed hitter. Expos third baseman. 4-0 the Dodgers ahead. We're in the 5th inning here. Karros on the bag at first with Cordero. It's too high, says Steve Ripley, the plate umpire. Ball 1. Well, I wonder, I mean, Tommy Harper, with his explanation there, as we see Felipe Alou, the manager of the Expos, designed perhaps just to simplify things, to start with the rudimentary aspects of base stealing. Here are the basics, guys. You had the speed to do this. That theory, though, getting to second in 3.1 seconds, has to do with the pitcher throwing a pitch and the catcher throwing to second. What if the pitcher spins and throws to first?
Yeah. Well, you have to read the pitcher to a certain extent. It doesn't matter which kind of a theory you use. You have to know where the pitcher's going. But Tommy is trying to make it a sprint. Just if I can get from this point to that point in 3.1, what can you do about it?
So don't worry about the crossover step or what your first step is. Just get there the fastest way you can.
Yeah. And again, that's with guys with blazing speed, and we're seeing more and more guys come into Major League Baseball that are just have sprinter speed. See, Maury Wills did not have sprinter speed, so he had a different theory. I'll give you another example. Lou, he never stopped at first base. Lou Brock had a completely different theory than Maury Wills. Lou was kind of always inching and moving towards second base, and I believe that was because Lou was a little taller. The taller you are, the more you have to have some movement before you start. You can't start from a dead stop if you're pretty tall.
Pedro Martinez, he had a sacrifice bunt his first time. And that's a foul ball. Been no activity in the Expos bullpen at any time, and I think when Maury Wills was with us, he pretty well hit that one correctly. He was saying that Felipe Alou was making sure that Martinez understood, hey, we fell behind early, but it's your night. Go out there and settle in.
Well, it's only the 5th inning, so I think if this was the 7th inning, obviously you would see a pinch hitter.
Nice curveball. 0-2 to Pedro Martinez.
I said earlier in the ballgame that these two guys were similar in that Astacio throws about 92 miles an hour, 91, and Martinez throws about 94. So that's, 2 miles an hour is not going to change the world. So they're very similar there, and they both have good changeups. I'm
writing that down right here. 2 miles an hour will not change the world. Sounds like you've used that line to somebody before, Joe.
No,
somebody in authority, maybe?
No, that was the first time.
Honestly, officer, 2 miles an hour is not going to change the world. 0-2 to Pedro Martinez. His brother, Ramon, pitched here last night for the Dodgers. They had a big lead, but didn't get a win. Dodgers could not hold the lead.
Now that was what you call an interesting pitch. 1 ball, 2 strikes, and you throw a changeup to the pitcher. That is an interesting pitch. I won't use the word dumb. I'll say interesting.
Oh, I didn't even think of the word dumb there, Joe.
Oh, good. Because I said interesting.
Curious. It's a curious pitch. Broken back. And there's Offerman stepping in the back for the force out against Cordero. The big guns are coming up with the Dodgers. Piazza, who is homered tonight. Wallach, who is homered tonight. 4-0 Dodgers. Dodgers 4, Expos nothing. Halfway through our Sunday night telecast from Los Angeles. The Dodgers coming up with last year's Rookie of the Year, Mike Piazza. He is homered already tonight. And it was quite a shot over the 395 marker just to the right of straightaway center and well up into the bleachers out there. He's also fouled out to the right fielder, which created one of the most bizarre plays you will ever see. I just hope the children didn't see it.
Or it would be major leaguers.
The foul ball to Larry Walker, the second out of the inning, and then Walker, standing next to a young kid in the stands, handed him the ball. That was a game ball in play. It may be without precedent. A game ball in play, and he handed it to a fan. The fan's talking now, says, maybe I should have thrown it in. I bet I could have thrown that guy out, you know it? It was almost like I was with the Expos there for about 5 seconds. Walker then, realizing his mistake, went right back over and took it away from the same kid. It didn't do any good. The runner ended up at third base. And then in the next inning, he gave the kid another new ball. This is Sean Barry, and he throws out Piazza. Well, we've verbally recapped that play. And here's what we're talking about. 2 outs, Larry. Yeah, 2 outs. No, that's 2 outs. Yeah, Larry, 2 outs. Oh! Pardon me, young man. Yeah. And a very nice throw to the plate, Joe. You can't, no complaints with that. Here is Tim Wallach. He homered right after that play on the very next pitch to make it a 4-0 ball game. You got all kinds of plots and subplots in this ball game, with Pedro Martinez facing his former team for the first time, traded for Delino DeShields, and then of course here's Tim Wallach facing the only other team he's ever played for, the Montreal Expos, and down he goes this time. Martinez makes short work of him. 2 down, and Henry Rodriguez is coming up.
John, my normal thoughts about trading a pitcher for an everyday player has been in the past that an everyday player, a good everyday player, is better than a good pitcher, because a pitcher can only help you every 5th day. Everyday player can obviously help you playing every day. But I think because pitching has become so important in the game, that rule no longer applies as a straight line. I think sometimes if you can get an excellent pitcher like Pedro Martinez will be, for an everyday player like Delino DeShields, you may see more and more teams making that trade. But in the past, you would not trade an everyday player for a pitcher.
Right to the first baseman, Floyd. The Dodgers go down 1-2-3 for the second time tonight. We go to the 6th inning. Top of the order for the Expos coming. Nothing Dodgers. We go to the 6th next Sunday night, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. We'll be back in Southern California. The Angels with Tim Salmon, the American League Rookie of the Year, and Big Mo Vaughn, and the red-hot Red Sox, who are now 13-5. That'll be next Sunday night from Anaheim Stadium in Southern California. And we're anxious to see the Red Sox with 0-2 Otis Nixon now at the top of the batting order. And the former Brave has the Red Sox in a running frame of mind. They actually won a ball game this weekend. In the 7th inning, they were down by a run, and Billy Hatcher stole home. And I mean a straight steal of home to tie the game. And a base stealer got a curtain call from the fans after that. So it's a different kind of a Red Sox team, and they are red hot right now next Sunday. Don't miss it. Henry Rodriguez with the catch, and the ball hit by Lansing, the leadoff man for Les Expos. He is now 1 for 3 as Lansing. And that brings up Cliff Floyd. 4-0 the Dodgers ahead. John Miller with Joe Morgan from Dodger Stadium.
There have been a lot of runs scored especially in the American League this year, and a lot of people are coming up with different theories about the ball being juiced, poor pitching, the strike zone not being enforced, a lot of different things.
Right to Offerman. Pretty good arm. 2 men gone.
I've seen some adjustments being made by the pitchers. The more games I watch, the more I see that pitchers are now using the changeup a lot more. And I think the reason they're using the changeup is because when you have power hitters, the Felders of the game and so forth, Gonzalez, they're going to hit a lot of home runs no matter what. But if you throw a lot of changeup to the small guys, they're not going to hit the ball out of the ballpark because they have to generate their own power with the pitch. The fastball, you can just meet it and it'll go out. And I think more and more pitchers are throwing changeups to make the adjustment towards keeping the ball in the ballpark with the small hitters or the people who do not hit a lot of home runs.
Marquise Grissom, the hitter, and he fouls it away. 1 ball and 1 strike facing Pedro Estacio, who thus far has been a little bit better than his former teammate Pedro Martinez. No runs, 4 hits allowed. Pedro Martinez, 4 runs, 6 hits given up. That's a foul. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Well, there have been a lot of runs scored, and I would say with Johnny Oates, the manager of Baltimore, we saw last week in Sunday Night Baseball, said, when asked whether he thought the ball was juiced or not, he says, if you think it's juiced, just go out and prove it. Run some tests. Get somebody who can run some tests. Show that it's juiced. Otherwise, don't bother me about it, he said.
I think they're proving it every day in every ballpark in the major leagues. I think it's being proved. But I'm not even discussing that. I just think that the pitchers have tried to make an adjustment from last year when there were so many home runs hit.
This is Wallach. Nice play. 3 up and 3 down. Estacio is rolling right along. He's given up only 2 hits since the 1st inning. The sun has disappeared gently, but with a fiery red to the beautiful blue Pacific off to the west of Dodger Stadium, Los Angeles. Cool evening breeze gently soothes the nerves of those who worry that the Dodgers, who last night blew a 5-run lead and lost, may not be able to hold a 4-run lead here. Well, we'll see.
You know, to be perfectly honest with John, today is the first day that I've been around Tommy Lasorda, and he wasn't upbeat. Remember when we met him at the batting cage today? He was kind of down, and he said to me he couldn't believe he lost last night's game, that the Dodgers lost it. He was complaining about things that happened in the game. Normally, he still feels that he's okay now. They have a lead, but normally it doesn't matter what happened the day before. Tommy is usually in pretty good spirits, but today he was really down after last night's loss and the night before.
This is Eric Karros, the Dodgers' big RBI man.
There's that fastball up in the air.
2-2 to Karros. Karros has struck out, looking, and he has walked. It was pretty close, that curveball. Where do you think that one missed, Joe?
High. They called it high. Well, I mean, I'm sure Pedro would argue that point.
3-2. Higgs struck him out with the fastball to the outside. 1 away in the 6th inning. 4-0. The Dodgers lead here.
This is almost a perfect pitch from Martinez. It's 92-mile-an-hour fastball, knee high and away. And nothing that Karras can do with that. All he could do was hope to foul it, and he didn't foul it. So perfect pitch there from Martinez.
Now Raul Mondesi will come up. Manny Mota, Dodger coach, who's just a great hitter back in the 60s. Became the Dodgers pinch hitter. Oh, there's a little inside action right there, Joe.
Yeah, well, that was a breaking ball that just didn't break.
Ah, okay.
Well, it's just a hanging curveball that kind of comes down behind him. See the hump in it? That tells you it's a curveball. There's a spin. It just doesn't break. He didn't get on top of it, so it didn't break across the plate. There it is.
2-0. Mondesi, his shoulders aching. He says it goes right from his shoulder down to his elbow. He's having a hard time throwing the ball before the game. Didn't think he was going to be able to play. His rib cage and the right side, the thigh, the shin, kind of beat up and bruised after the collision with DeShields last night. DeShields suffered a concussion. He's been in the hospital under observation ever since. 2-1 to Mondesi. Manny Mota wanted to make sure that we pronounced his name correctly. Mondesi. Accent in the last syllable. Because he thinks he's going to be a big superstar. Got a great arm. He runs real well. And as you can expect, or you might expect because of that build, I mean, he's got great power. He's also a free swinger. Drew his first walk of the year last night. Down he goes. And he's 0 for 3 tonight. 8 strikeouts for Martinez.
Well, Martinez is throwing the ball well. He's been throwing well from the beginning of the ball game, but it's just tough sometimes. Take a look at the changeup. You can see his hand off the ball. That's the circle changeup. Mondesi's way out front. There's another changeup. He chases that one. And this is another one on the outside part of the plate. So he decided that he was going to throw him something other than the fastball.
Now Jeff Treadway. Marquise Grissom into left center. That's 7 in a row now retired by Pedro Martinez. We're heading into the late innings. Larry Walker, Moises Salou coming up. 4-0 Dodgers.
Leading off for the Expos, right fielder, Larry.
Beautiful night in Los Angeles. The Dodgers 4, the Expos nothing. There's been a full moon over Dodger Stadium tonight, and Larry Walker certainly has seemed to indicate that there may be some problems associated with that because some bizarre things have happened to him tonight. He's also 0 for 2 at the plate. Nothing has gone right for Walker, but now he's got a base hit as the Expos try and mount a comeback. Full moon over Dodger Stadium, which can often lead to bizarre occurrences such as this in the first inning. Walker, a Gold Glove outfielder, chasing this double by Butler, picks it up. Fumble! Oh boy! Then, with only 1 out and a runner at first in the third inning, thought there were 3. Nice thing, gave it to the kid. Runner still running. Oh, only 2 outs. May I have that back, young man? But then came out at the next inning, gave the young fella a brand new baseball to make sure he got his souvenir. Full moon over Dodger Stadium. Larry Walker won't soon forget it. But now he has singled, and he is hopeful, perhaps more than anybody, that the Expos will mount a comeback and take them all off the hook. Moises Salou chases that high Astacio fastball. 0-1.
Astacio has a good fastball, and when he gets it up and out of the strike zone, very difficult to hit. Can't chase that pitch, or you'll really have problems with him. Moises reminds me a little bit of his father, the way he swings. Not a lot of hand action, not a lot of wrist action in his swing. It's kind of stiff, but he hits the ball awfully hard.
His dad, Felipe Alou, was just a great hitter. The Giants, then later with the Braves. There were a lot of Alous who played in the big leagues. Felipe, 1962, a great year for the Giants, had 98 RBIs. Moises had 85 last year. Matty's best RBI year with the Cardinals in 71. And Jesus Alou had 52 with the Giants at 65. Jesus and Matty were never RBI type guys. That's a base hit for Alou.
That's one thing about these Expos. They have some hitters in the lineup, and they hit the ball hard.
So now Darren Fletcher is coming up. 2 on and nobody out.
Let's take a look at this swing. Watch. Not a lot of wrist action. He actually hits through the ball, and then his hands turn over. Keeps the bat level through the zone that way. He extends his hitting streak to 12 games now.
Right up there among the league leading hitters, near 400. Here is Darren Fletcher. And the Dodgers have a little stirring in their bullpen now. Astacio has not gone too late in many games. He's only averaged a little over 5 innings per start thus far. That is problems. There's one of the great young arms of this Dodger staff, Darren Dreifert, first-round draft choice right out of college a year ago. Ooh, foul tip.
This is a time I think you have to be more patient with Astacio if you're the Expos. This is his changeup. You see he takes a lot off of that pitch. 79 miles an hour as compared to a 91 mile an hour fastball.
Wilfredo Cordero is on deck. Walker at second base. Alou at first. The Expos bullpen also busy now. 2-1 to Fletcher, who has popped to second and fly deep to left center. Each team was 6 hits, but 2 of the Dodgers' 6 hits home runs. Now Gary Wayne, the left-hander, has joined Dreifert, the right-hander in the Dodgers bullpen. It's slowly juggled by Offerman. Got the out at second. And almost not even that. Alou out at second, Walker to third, Fletcher aboard on the force out at first.
I don't believe they were going to be able to get the double play out of this anyway. The ball was hit softly because he broke his bat. Hits off the heel of his glove. Good job by Offerman to actually control it and get it over to Treadway for the force out.
And now, among the 20 outs recorded by Astacio, 12 have been ground ball outs.
That's an interesting statistic for Astacio because he has a high fastball. He doesn't really throw the sinking fastball that much.
Wilfredo Cordero. Pretty good movement on that pitch.
Yeah.
Strike one.
Ball really tailed in on Cordero.
And that was 88 miles an hour.
Well, that was his version of the sinker then.
Yeah. Astacio into the late innings here with a 4-run lead. In trouble right now. And the changeup for a strike. 0-2. This, by the way, is only the second time in the game that the Expos have had a runner as far as third. In the first inning, Lansing got to third with 2 down. There is Walker at third now with 1 out here in the 7th. Cordero has flied to left and singled. There is Fletcher, the runner at first, with Carros playing behind him. Offerman at short, Treadway at second, double play depth. Fastball misses, 1-2.
While the changeup was 79 miles an hour, he comes back with a 91 mile an hour fastball. Now you pretty much have him set up for either pitch. You just have to make it a good pitch, meaning you have to get it in the proper location.
A ball and 2 strikes. Reach for could be 2 now. Treadway to second one. Offerman had some trouble. Safe at first as Walker scores.
Cordero really showed some speed getting down the line. He hustled down the line to stay out of that double play. He reaches for this pitch, which is away, and he hits a ground ball to second base. It's over the outside part of the plate. Treadway to second baseman Offerman. He comes across. Really a lot of speed there by Cordero that beats the play. They made the double play pretty quickly. You can make it a little quicker, but he really hustled down the line.
RBI for Cordero. He's at first with 2 down. 4-1 the score. And the ball is hit high in the air by Barry into center. But plenty of room out there for Butler. 1 run for the Expos. We go to the last of the 7th. Astacio will lead it off. 4-1 Dodgers. Hello, everyone. I'm John Miller. With Joe Morgan, your Sunday night telecasters. Now, Pedro Martinez going for the Expos tonight. Now, his early season exploits, Joe, sort of obscure the very fine career that's been had up till now by his older brother, Ramon Martinez of the Dodgers.
Well, he kind of reminds me of Ramon at the start. Ramon started off very well. He used to have an overpowering fastball and a great changeup. Somewhere along the line, his fastball straightened out a little bit, and he's been having problems. He's been trying to recapture that glory of like 3 years ago. But they're both very similar. Both of them feature the fastball and the changeup.
Well, you know, we talked to Pedro Martinez about his brother. And a little bit later, we'll let you know what he had to say about it, because I think it's kind of revealing about Pedro Martinez, who is a guy who has been the comment made about him this year that he pitches with much more composure than his experience and his age would make you think he could. And I think his comments about his older brother Ramon also illustrate that fact as well. This is Pedro Astacio, meanwhile, having his first real top-notch outing of the year. He had a 9.18 ERA coming into this game.
Probably the first time he's had 3 at-bats in a ball game.
And he's starting to look exhausted to me, Joe, up there. I think he ought to just call it in and just say, listen, I prefer not to bat. Well, he's going to reach base. That pitch was so wild that he reached base on it.
Be his ninth strikeout and a wild pitch, allowing Astacio to reach first base. And that's a breaking ball that bounces in the dirt. It bounces away from Fletcher, and Astacio hustles down to first base.
Now, with nobody on base, had he not swung, that's not a wild pitch. It's almost like they should somehow penalize Astacio. Charge that wild pitch to him because it was ridiculous that he swung at it. Well, it is a cool night here at Dodger Stadium. You can see that illustrated by the fact that the umpires have allowed the pitchers to put their hands to their mouth to blow on them to warm them up a bit while they're still on the mound. This is Brett Butler. Now, he has pulled a couple of line shots here tonight down the right field line against Martinez. Strike on the outside.
Martinez has gotten 2 fastballs on the inside part of the plate when Butler was looking for them, and he's been able to pull the ball. I think you'll see him work him away as he did with the first pitch there. I think he'll try to stay away from him in this at bat. But you always have to be aware that Butler will bunt anytime.
Oh, and 2 to Butler. The Montreal bullpen, meanwhile, is busy. Pedro Martinez is scheduled to lead off in the 8th inning for the Expos. So, regardless of what happens here in the 7th, this will be his final inning. 1 ball and 2 strikes. There is Jeff Shaw warming up. The Expos bullpen has been pretty strong and has looked real strong this week on the West Coast.
Moises Alou is playing almost on the line in left field for Brett Butler.
Foul ball, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Alou looked like he's almost over in the box seats over there.
Yeah, that's very close to the line. I mean, you don't want to chase the ball in foul territory.
It's almost like he's anticipating he'll hit a foul ball if he hits it down there. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Far inside. 93-mile-an-hour heat inside. 2 and 2 to Butler. 4 runs, 6 hits for the Dodgers. 1 run, 6 hits, 2 errors for the Expos. Not a bad game for this fellow, but 2 home runs, the first 2 he's given up this year. Told the story so far.
Right, he's pitched well, other than his 2 bad pitches.
Into the hole at short, Cordero. Nice play at second. Lansing gets the put out on Astacio.
Well, they're playing Butler around to left field, and this is a fastball that's tailing away. You can see the ball is running away from him. That's the one he throws with the seam. Cordero makes the throw. He actually rushes to try to start the double play, but with a guy like Butler running, you should just make sure you get the one at second base, because you're not going to double him up on a ball like that.
Now here is Jose Offerman. See the comebacker in a check swing. He's walked and scored a run. He is flying to left center. 0 for 2. Switch hitter batting left-handed. Into left center field. Grissom, nice catch. All the way to second was Butler, so he has to turn around and go all the way back.
That's why Grissom won a Gold Glove, but this outfield is an excellent outfield. They get great jumps on the ball, and even though Walker has not had a great defensive game, he is still a Gold Glove winner and one of the best outfielders in the National League. But this is an exceptional play by Grissom. He got a great jump on it first of all, and then he gets there, and then he just kind of slides to stop his momentum. But he knew he was going to catch it about right there. And just make sure that he's able to stop and turn and throw back to the infield.
Now Mike Piazza, reminiscent back in the 80s when the Cardinals were at their very best. Pitcher could give up a shot to the outfield, and they had a very good shot, or a very good chance that somebody was going to catch it out there. Yeah.
One other thing about Pedro Martinez, he has an excellent move to first base, very quick to first base, and that was illustrated there by the throw chasing Butler back. I'm not so sure Butler will run in this situation. They want Piazza to get his swings in.
He's hit one tonight, a 2-run first inning homer that put the Dodgers ahead. He's also fouled to right and grounded to third. Piazza facing his former teammate Pedro Martinez for the first time. Told us before the game he thought one of the keys to facing Pedro was patience at the plate, and he worked the count fairly deep before he hit the home run.
In the first inning, he worked him deep into the count. And he seems to be patient here. It looks like he was taking the first 2 pitches all the way, and both of them have been balls. Here's the question mark. Now it's 2 balls and no strikes. See, Martinez has a couple options because he can throw his fastball and get you out with it, even if you're looking for it, or he can come with a changeup. He usually has that type of control.
Butler, pretty good move there by Pedro Martinez. He's pretty quick.
Very quick.
Now, here I'm saying it, Joe, but what do you think?
Yeah, very quick. There you see Butler's career, 68%. I personally, think that he should have a higher percentage if you're going to steal as many bases as he stole in his career. I think you have to do a little better than that percentage-wise.
3-0 to Piazza. Wallach would be next. 2 down in the 7th. 4-1. The Dodgers ahead here.
Well, this is a situation where Tommy Lasorda will let Piazza take a swing. So we'll have to see if he gets a pitch that he likes. In fact, the final day of the season last year, we broadcast a game from here. It was 3-0, and Tommy let him swing, and he hit a home run.
Joey Amalfitano, the third base coach, has relayed Tommy Lasorda's wishes to Mike Piazza. Butler with a long lead at first. Catches the corner. 77 miles an hour on that one.
Which means it was a changeup.
So he knew full well that Piazza would swing if he liked it.
Well, he was here the last day of the season last year.
3-1. A lot of respect there for Piazza at 3-1. There goes Butler. Strike 2. It's a steal for Butler. His 5th of the year.
Well, he picked a good pitch to run on because Martinez was giving all his concentration to Piazza, and it was another off-speed pitch. It's another changeup, and that's why Piazza doesn't swing at it, and Butler had a good jump, and the throw is right on target, but just a little late.
Now just a single could mean a run. Butler at second. 3-2 to Piazza. Right off the foot. Ouch.
Another changeup. This is what makes a pitcher like Martinez difficult to hit. He throws you 3 changeups. You know he can get you out with the changeup, but he also has a good enough fastball that he can get you out with it. So he may throw the fastball. This one, not your real crunching hit off of the instep, but it might hit the ground first.
Well, there's the fastball down the right field line. Fair ball. Butler scores. Piazza has a double. His 3rd RBI of the game. 5-1 Los Angeles.
There's another illustration of how strong Piazza is. That ball jammed him completely, and it was that same type of swing he took on the first at bat when he hit a home run. See, this ball is in on him, and he's late on it, but he fights it off. And I mean, just the swing is not your normal swing. It just, he fights it off, and the ball finds a line down the right field line.
Well, meanwhile, Felipe Alou, as Mike Piazza is all smiles. He had a tough first 2 weeks of this season, but he's had a hot week leading into tonight. Felipe Alou is going to make the double switch and go to Jeff Shaw out of that bullpen for Pedro Martinez. It's been a disappointing night on his return to Dodger Stadium. 5-1 Dodgers. Will be back. To 1 Dodgers, and Pedro Martinez hope for a happier ending than the score that sees him head to the dugout. Jeff Shaw is on now in his 11th game of the year already. And Tim Wallach hits a long drive to left field. That one is headed for downtown. 7-1 Los Angeles. What a shot. 2nd of the game for Wallach.
The Expos let him come to the Dodgers. Now he makes them pay for it with 2 home runs tonight. It's surprising. This is another high fastball, and he is not really a fastball hitter. I mean, he doesn't like the ball up like that. He usually likes the ball down, and that pitch was right around the belt, maybe a little above.
Now Henry Rodriguez. Split-fingered pitch is in the dirt for ball 1. Jeff Gardner came in to play 3rd base for the Expos, replacing Sean Barry. As Tim Wallach is congratulated by his teammates. And the new pitcher, there's Gardner, who hit in the 9th spot in the order, and he'll be leading it off in the next inning.
Wallach was being congratulated by Reggie Smith, too, who is now the hitting instructor for the Dodgers. Add the new hitting instructor.
Got some tapes of when Wallach was at his very best with the Expos a few years back, and he and Wallach watched those tapes together.
There's Reggie. He had arthroscopic surgery on his knee on Friday, and so he's back on the bench but not working around the cage yet.
On the outside for a strike. 3-1 the count.
You were talking about Wallach. His tapes they looked at.
They watched the tapes, and Wallach said everything was in a groove back in 87, 86, 88, no, that era for him. So they watched the tapes and said, well, let's go back and do that. What are the differences between what you've been doing? Because he's been hitting 220 every year here the last few years. And thus far, the changes he's made have worked out real well.
Well, the one thing that I noticed is not as big an uppercut in his swing as there was before. He had a more of an uppercut the last couple of years, and that was causing him to miss the pitch that was up.
Tim Wallach now has 6 home runs and 19 runs driven in for the year. Depending on what other hitters did today, he could be as high as 3rd in the league in RBIs, tied with Darren Daulton of the Phillies. Seven to 1, and 6 of the runs charged to Pedro Martinez. That one is foul off to the left. You know, you go back in this inning to the leadoff batter, Pedro Astacio, who struck out swinging at a wild pitch and reached base. Otherwise, Piazza never would have had a chance to come up in this inning.
but it's an earned run because it was a wild pitch. He threw it
rather than a pass ball. There's that split-fingered pitch for strike 3. And at long last, that third out is recorded. 7-1 Dodgers now. We head to the 8th. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball is brought to you by 1994 Fleer Ultra Baseball. Better than ever. And by Ricoh. Ricoh makes a full line of copiers and facsimiles to meet all your office needs. The name to know, Ricoh. John Miller and Joe Morgan. Sunday Night Baseball from Los Angeles. The Dodgers leading 7-1. And it's been the strong pitching of a right-hander named Pedro all right tonight. But the Pedro who I think surprised everyone here with a real strong outing so far against the Expos. Well, Pedro Martinez, who had been pitching so well up until tonight, it was a night for him to forget. The batter, Jeff Gardner, up for the first time. 1 ball, 1 strike. Pedro Astacio. So what the Dodgers need, they need Astacio and Ramon Martinez and the rest of their starters to get it going. Tom Candiotti, Oral Hershiser. Hershiser had a very fine start. 2.52 ERA. But Ramon Martinez 0-2 with a 4.50. There's the Bulldog, Oral Hershiser. Ramon Martinez had the big lead last night. There's Ramon, 6-1, but he and the bullpen couldn't hold on to it. Tom Candiotti, 4.28 ERA, but he is 3-1. The knuckleballer. Astacio tonight trying to get his first win of the year. Ramon Martinez has not yet won one. And although there's not one guy in there, Joe, that you say, oh, that guy should win 20 games. I mean, they've got a whole rotation full of guys you figure have an excellent chance of winning 14, 15 or so, which means a pretty strong pitcher every day of the week.
Well, that's true. They have the potential to have, 4 real solid starters there. And if Astacio can pick up the pace, they'll obviously have a very good staff.
3-2 now to Gardner. Lansing on deck, the leadoff man, and then Floyd due up 3rd in the inning. Grissom would be due up 4th. But all of a sudden, the Expos are way behind. 7-1. Brett Butler. And there is one away. Been a big night for Tim Wallach after having some terrible years. 3 years in a row.
And you're right, he had 220 or less for 3 straight years. I'm going to show you something that I see different. Wallach used to drop his bat a little bit down in here and then try to get it back up, and then that caused a loop in his swing. Now, this time he just kind of goes straight out and hits the ball, and that's why he's able to handle this high fastball. See, he doesn't drop them. He keeps them up, and that's why he's able to hit the ball above the belt, which he could not do the last 3 years. And I would say that looking at those tapes with Reggie Smith, he probably saw that and corrected it. Probably 3 years too late, but I mean, he'd like to have corrected it sooner, I'm sure. I mean, you don't want to waste 3 years of your career, but he did have 3 tough years prior to the start of this season.
But when you look at the Dodgers, their chances, or even better said, I think their hopes for 94. They pick up DeShields, an outstanding leadoff man, great base stealer, plus Butler behind him. I mean, you've got maybe the 2 best guys at the top of your order that any team in the National League has.
Well, Butler is great because he can bunt, he can do a lot of things, and he can take some pitches. So it gives the Shields a chance to steal. There's Fred Clare.
And that gives Piazza, Wallach, Karros. They're going to come up there all the time. That was a breaking ball. They're going to be coming up there all the time with guys at 1st and 3rd, 2nd and 3rd, 1st and 2nd. RBI opportunities. The problem for the Dodgers was that Darryl Strawberry, a healthy Strawberry, figured prominently in those plans. But now, with Strawberry gone, if Tim Wallach can actually come on and have a strong year for them, that's what really they're going to need. Piazza and Karros also to do what they've done in the past.
That's true. I mean, they have the makings of a solid ball club.
Plus this fella, Raul Mondesi. I mean, if he's going to be as good as they're hoping, as good as they think he can be, they're all going to get RBI opportunities once DeShields is back in there and healthy and they get rolling. That's the hope for the Dodgers. Cliff Floyd, the batter. 2 down, nobody on. Floyd is 1 for 3. Got a bunt single back in the first inning. Astasio's only thrown 93 pitches in this game. Everybody's hit the ball, mostly on the ground. He has not had a single strikeout tonight, nor has he had a walk. 3 up and 3 down. 3 outs away from his first win of the year. Dodgers 7, Expos 1. We go to the last of the 8th inning from Dodger Stadium on Sunday Night Baseball. Now, tomorrow night at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, the drive for the Stanley Cup continues on ESPN as the Washington Capitals meet the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Caps defeated Pittsburgh 4-1 last night, and now they lead the series 3-1. But 2 years ago, the Penguins were down by that same 3-1 deficit to the same Caps and went on to win the Stanley Cup. Don't miss it tomorrow night, 7:30 Eastern on ESPN. Speaking of hockey, here is Denis Boucher, a fellow whose name would make you think he'd play for Le Club de Hockey, Les Canadiens de Montréal. Randy Milligan, the Moose, is now at first base. They make the double switch, so Milligan will hit 8th in the order. Boucher, number 2. Cliff Floyd is out. And Boucher with a curveball that misses, ball 1. Eric Karros. He had a real slow start last year.
Right.
Looked like he was going to be a victim of that. What do they call that after your rookie?
Sophomore jinx.
Yeah. Looks like some sophomore had jinxed him. But he had a nice finish the last couple of months. Had representative numbers, 23 homers, 80 batted in. What kind of numbers do you figure a guy like this in this order needs to produce for them to be good, Joe? I mean, does he got to do 95 to 100 or so?
No, I think anything over 80 will be sufficient because you've got Piazza in front of him who's going to have 100. And if Wallach throws up 95 or 90 to 100, you're going to be in good shape. It's very difficult to have 3 guys driving 100 runs or 90 to 100 anyway. So,
yeah, if you're not the Toronto Blue Jays.
Well, that's true.
Actually, it's difficult for the Blue Jays because they got like maybe 4 or 5 guys.
Yeah, they have a problem with 3 as well.
Man, the fans are really getting on Larry Walker. Been on him ever since his earlier misadventures.
Right fielder.
Here's Walker making the catch, and the fans are hoping that he throws it to them, and he acts like he wants to throw it over there. Well, he's having some fun with him. And you know, that's interesting. I like that because in this game, when it lasts for 6 months, you have to be able to laugh at yourself because it doesn't matter who you are, you're going to make some mistakes out there on the field. And if you can't laugh at yourself and keep going, it can be a long season.
This is Mondesi. Third base, Gardner to Milligan. Mondesi is now 0 for 4. 2 men gone in the 8th, 7-1, the Dodgers lead. It was sort of that wry, understated humor we saw there from Larry Walker.
Right.
That Canadian style of humor. And he is a Canadian from British Columbia.
John, I remember one of the greatest catchers, a Hall of Famer, Roy Campanella. I remember watching on television. He thought it was 3 outs in the World Series. Rolled the ball back to the mound. And a run came in to score. Yeah, so it happens to the best of them.
Jeff Treadway now 0 for 3. 38,817 the paid attendance at Dodger Stadium tonight. Dodgers will see the Philadelphia Phillies. Tuesday and Wednesday at Dodger Stadium with the Phillies. Hard time. They got swept in San Diego this weekend. Just in time, Boucher gets the putout. Last chance for the Expos. Grissom, Walker, and Alou. The big guns are coming up. John Miller and Joe Morgan from Los Angeles Dodger Stadium. 9th inning action now underway. Ball 1 to Marquise Grissom, third place hitter for the Expos. Now he swings and belts one high and deep, majestically soaring through the California evening, and foul. 1 ball, 1 strike. It's been the Pedro Astacio show here tonight. And he pitched like this quite often last year, winning 14 games his first full year as a starter for the Dodgers. The Dodgers weren't a ball club that scored a whole lot of runs last year either. Young right-hander Pedro Astacio. or as they used to call him here in L.A., the other Pedro.
The other Pedro.
But tonight, at least on this night, in front of our Sunday night baseball cameras, he's a little better than the other Pedro.
And he still has a good fastball. That's 91 miles an hour again on an 0-2 waste pitch. Or 1-2 waste pitch, I should say.
Amazingly, no strikeouts, no walks. Quite an economy of pitches. Into right field. Mondesi. And that is out number 1. Grissom is 0 for 4. That'll bring up Larry Walker. Anxious to get out of town. This was back in the 3rd inning for the runner at first, and that was only the 2nd out. He gave the ball away to a young kid and then had to go back and retrieve it as the runners started rounding the bases. But then when the inning ended, the next time he went out there, brought a brand new baseball with him. And the fans have been hooting and hollering and making sport of Larry Walker ever since. He did single in the 7th and score the only Expos run of the game. That is foul off the left field line. Sports Center right after the game. Keith Olbermann and Dan Patrick. Sports Center aces will be there. The aces of the Sports Center staff. Now that's the way we look at it.
This may put a smile back on the face of Tommy Lasorda if Astacio is able to finish this ball game and he does not have to go to the bullpen.
Tommy was given some parakeets just before they left Florida this spring. Brought him back to Dodger Stadium, and they put the parakeets in their cage in the dugout during batting practice. Tommy says he wants the parakeets to watch batting practice every night, and they put the parakeets back in his office before the game starts. And he says he's trained the parakeets now to know whether the Dodgers have won or lost. Through Eric Karros and into right field. Tommy says if they lost, the birds don't sing when he goes back in there. If they win, the birds are chirping. I imagine they're chirping like crazy back in there right now. The Dodgers ahead by 6.
Ball is hit to the right side. The in-between hop bounces off of Karros' glove and goes into right field for a base hit.
At number 7 for the Expos. 2nd hit for Walker. Here is Alou. Extended his hitting streak with a single in the 7th. He's hit safely in 12 in a row. Only 104 pitches thrown by Astacio now. I cannot recall, Joe, seeing, or I know I've seen it. I can't recall the last time I saw a pitcher go 9, no walks, and no strikeouts. Very rare.
That is rare. I mean, usually you'll strike out someone because they're just swinging a bad pitch. And especially a guy like Astacio who has a good fastball and a good breaking ball and a good changeup. So you figure that he would strike out at least one hitter in 8 innings.
He's gotten 15 ground ball outs in this game. High in the air to center field. Brett Butler. Plenty of room out there. Starting to run out of room though. He's got it. 2 men down. Well, the former Expo, Tim Wallach, got the better of the former Dodger as Pedro Martinez twice tonight in the 3rd inning. This made it 4-1. In the 7th inning against the reliever Shaw, this was just a shot into left center. That made it 7-1. 4 RBIs for Wallach and 3 RBIs for Piazza, who also homered and drove in a run with a double. So the 3 and 4 Dodger hitters tonight drove in all of the runs, all 7 of them. 2 down, runner at first. Darren Fletcher, the hitter. He's 0 for 3. This should do it. Mondesi. Yo lo tengo. And the ball game is over. The Dodgers avoid the sweep. And Pedro Astacio goes all the way for his first win of the year. They get the win, and Astacio returning to form. Very pleasing night for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now next week, we'll be in Southern California again. Tim Salmon and the Angels take on Big Mo Vaughn and the Red Sox. 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. We hope you'll join us then. Stay tuned for SportsCenter coming up next. Here, the Dodgers Dodgers have beaten the Expos 7-1. John Miller for Joe Morgan from Los Angeles. Good night, everyone.